All right, Jeremy, thank you so much for being here on the All Bets Are Off podcast today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm looking forward to asking you some hopefully good questions. If I don't know how many of these you do, but hopefully there's not a lot of repeats.
There are no bad questions.
Well, I want to start with, and this always really intrigues me with anybody that I talk to, is where did you fall in love with rock and roll? Like, when do you remember going, "Oh man, this is for me"?
Oh man, I remember the moment like it was yesterday. In 1978, 79, Kiss was the biggest band in the world for kids that were, anywhere from 6 to 13 years old. And my brother fell in that category. And there was a kid who was his age that lived behind us. And he came out one day and he had just the vinyl records of Alive 2. He said, "Hey, man, I'll sell you these for 50 cents a piece." And I was like, 3 or 4, I can't remember. I think 4. And it's like, "Okay, cool. Let me go ask my mom." And then mom gave me 50 cents. She said, "Well, you can get one of them." And then we went back out. And my brother said, "Get that one. It has Shout It Out Loud." So I bought side 3 and 4. And we went in the house and listened to Shout It Out Loud immediately. And I mean, like, everybody that knows Alive 2, when you put it on Shout It Out Loud, it sounds like there's 40 tracks of people just screaming their heads off. So there's that, and then Paul introducing the song with a lot of energy, and then the band kicks in and triples the energy, and then the bombs go off, and then at that moment, I was all in, just
Wow.
completely.
That's awesome. Now, we're gonna kind of jump all over the place here instead of going linear, just because that leads me into like how cool it must feel to now be playing with Ace Frehley after that moment so many years ago, listening to Alive 2.
Well, the gravity of that is not lost on me, and not just playing with Ace, but I played with Gene before that, so getting to do that 2 times, it's crazy. I mean, I it's always going to be crazy to me. I I didn't have that on my bingo card. I knew I was going to do something musically because I was pretty fucking committed, and I've rode every peak and valley of this journey, and didn't quit. But yeah, if you would have asked me, I would have thought I would have done it with my own band, not being in Gene Simmons Band or Ace Frehley. That was a cool surprise in life.
Well, let's talk about those two things real quick. So, obviously, you were in Gene's band first. So, how does that come about, and then how does that segue into playing with Ace?
So when I start, Ryan Cook, from the Ace Band and the Gene Band, also he had an '80s metal cover band in Nashville called Big Rock Show,
Mhm.
and like '80s metal jukebox. Whitesnake, Judas Priest, Rat, Motley Crue. Just the big stuff.
Mhm.
And Ryan was really close friends. And when Kiss were doing their first cruise, Doc told Ryan, "Hey man, you should bring your cover band on." And their guitar player couldn't make it,
Mhm.
so they called around, and somehow I got the referral. So I started playing with them. And then when we did that first cruise, we got asked back on the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And the stage, the pool stage, is in front of the cabins that they were staying in. So I know they heard us quite a few times. And Ryan had a really good reputation with Doc, and was just kind of on Kiss's radar years. So when Gene started promoting his vault, he was doing these things called Wizard World, which are kind of like Comic Cons, and they asked him to tie in a show with that.
Mhm.
So he called Ryan, asked Ryan to put together a band, and I was pretty much a shoe-in at that point because, you know, we're close friends because of Kiss.
Mhm.
And then, we had Philip Schaus, who was also our close buddy. I hosted a show called The Rock and Roll Residency. He also, and at first, Gene was just going to sing, and we were going to pass the bass around, and then good sense prevailed, and Gene played bass. So we all three played guitar. There was no reason to get rid of a guy,
Mhm.
and we did that for a couple of years, and then we did a tour of Australia, and Ace was opening for Gene, and Ace asked Gene if he could use us because he couldn't afford to bring his band over, and Gene didn't care if we didn't care. So we backed both of them. And
Wow.
there, we went to Japan with Ace, and then on that trip, Ace asked us to be his band permanently. Because, well, actually, at that last show in Australia in Brisbane, Gene told Ace he should hire us. Gene knew that they were working on the End of the Road tour and that he was going to go back to Kiss, and we weren't going to be able to do shows. So I think he was just trying to do us a solid and keep us employed, and help Ace, because good fucking band.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And obviously I've seen you guys plenty of times at this point, and I'm sure I'll see you plenty more. And you guys are just such a kick-ass band, and it's so cool to see. And I guess now I kind of want to backtrack because we talked about you falling in love with rock and roll and then ended up with Gene and Ace, which is an amazing thing in itself. But when did you actually, pick up a guitar for the first time?
I don't know if it counts, but to me it does, because it really is like the roots of the whole thing. I got this thing called a Star Maker guitar when I was 6. It had one string. It was about, I don't know, a foot and a half long, a little like 2-inch speaker, and the speaker distorted, so it just sounded like one string with a distorted amp. And I was playing stuff like Iron Man and making up little riffs, God of Thunder, stuff like that. So the next Christmas, I was about 7. I started taking lessons when I was 8.
So from there, how do you find your way into your first band? Your first, like, this is my first real band.
When I was in high school, so the town that I lived in and the neighboring town all went to a high school together, and one of my good friends already had a band together that came from that other school, and then we all wound up in the same school. And I mean, I looked like I stepped out of a rock video then. And I was a pretty good player by that point too, and I don't know, he just kept asking me to be in his band, and then eventually I said okay, and then that was it. That was my sophomore year of high school, and then we played Nashville at the big club in town, which at the time was called the Cannery. And the guy, it was like 6 bands. It was called the 6-pack, and we went on first. And the guy that put on the show was pretty knocked out that a bunch of 16-year-olds were that good, so he put us on at 10:30 the next time. I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm 16, and I'm playing for like 800 people.
That's incredible.
Band. And then we broke up the next month.
Oh, geez. Wow. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you tell me when we met in Clearfield that when you were in high school, you looked like CC DeVille?
Pretty much. That's what I was going for. My hair was real big. I was wearing, kind of visual stuff. I mean, I didn't wear makeup or anything. I still had the really tall blonde hair, leather jacket.
I love it. I love it. Now, so that band breaks up, you said a month later, and I just alluded to the, you looking like CC. So who are your inspirations at this point besides Kiss? And what's the path you take to get into your next band?
It all depends on like when we're talking, because I kind of moved musically through my whole life. Like after Kiss, it was the Who, and then Van Halen. And Van Halen hung in there for a while. And then I finally got MTV, and I developed this thing. Like when a band made it really big, I moved on to somebody that wasn't big. And I was always like supporting those bands that were on their way up, and then when they made it up, I found the next one. So like around the time I joined that band, Enough's Enough were my end all be all. I loved them so much, and I'm just grateful for the musical doors they opened for me, which pretty much was the Beatles, because after them Beatles, and then through the Beatles I started getting into other 60s and 70s rock, and then by the time grunge was happening and like alternative rock, I went total classic rock.
Oh wow, okay. Well, I want to give a quick shout out to Enough's Enough then, because they just dropped a new record called Extra Cherries.
I've talked about this many times with Chip, and he knows.
Yeah. That's awesome. So now, if this might be a hard question because you are a guitar player, but if I asked you, give me like who you consider to be the Mount Rushmore of guitar players, could you do it?
Well, that'll start with Eddie Van Halen. I mean,
Okay.
he's my guy. I don't play anything like him, but he is the dude. He had it all. He had vision, talent, creativity. Even even like mechanical skills to like create stuff that guitar companies use to this day. It's crazy.
Hmm.
Eddie, Jimmy Page. I mean,
Hmm.
Jesus Christ. Um, you know, maybe I would put Ace up there. I don't know. Like Ace was the guy who made me a guitar player, and a lot of his influences are my influences now. Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck is definitely Mount Rushmore of guitar.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, there are other guys I like and love and had an impact on my playing. I don't know if I'd put them on a Rushmore guitar. Angus Young,
Hmm.
maybe
It's
Ray and Brad Whitford share a spot up there because I've definitely drawn a lot out of their guitar playing.
mhm. The amount of people who I have on that are guitar players that say, well, when I discovered Ace Frehley is astounding. So, I mean, and again, just watching you guys, jam with Ace X amount of times now, it's cool to see because you and Ryan's, specifically just always look like you're having so much fun and they're just so happy to be there. And I think that's such an important thing for fans to see when they come and see bands. And you guys have that.
Well, we're the guys in the audience that wound up in the band. Like,
Mm.
we weren't in the band, we'd probably be at an Ace Frehley show. I mean, were Kiss kids. It's something that we got into, in childhood, and for
Mm.
me, really early childhood. So, I, a lot of the people that know us see themselves. And we're the guys that hit the lottery twice.
Hmm. Well, okay, so I want to go back to that then because the joining up with Gene Simmons. So how long were you guys playing with Gene before you switched over to full time playing with Ace?
From March 2017 until September 2018, I think was our last show with Gene.
Okay, so do you guys still like? I know he did a few shows this past year. Does he still call you guys for those, or are you guys strictly with Ace?
And he got a Los Angeles based band. He had reached out to us about that first show, but then, within like 2 weeks, he had decided to move on. He had, I think, a lot more popped up on his calendar, and he knew we were Ace's band, and like, I don't know, taking us back probably would have caused a bunch of drama and conflict, and
Mm.
nobody's got time. And he also said he'd be able to rehearse
Mm.
bass band, and like, whatever, it's cool.
So let's talk now about RCMC.
Okay.
So that record came out a year ago, and that is you and Ryan, correct?
That's correct. Actually, I think it was almost 2 years ago. I feel like it was August of 2023 when it
Was
came.
it really? Wow, time flies because that is a fantastic record. And when did you guys decide that you were going to do this?
Uh, I sort of planted the seed for that. People had asked me and Ryan and Phil for a long time, hey, when are you guys going to do something original? When are you going to do something original? And like, honestly, the thought never crossed our mind because none of us really knew what kind of market there is for new music anyway. And we were just having a good time, touring, getting paid, and enjoying it. And I don't know, man, it just sort of seemed like our journey as a threesome was incomplete until we did an original thing at least once. And no matter what happened, just like that, we did it.
Mhm.
And Marty Fredrickson had been asking, like, hey man, well, anytime you guys want to do something, let me know. And we had a friend that had a label, and he kept offering. So I don't know, I just sort of feel like everything lined up and forced us into it. And then we started writing with Marty and decided we'd do 8 songs. And I think we wrote 8 great songs. There's no filler on that record, and it turned out better than I ever could have imagined.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and second the fact that you just said there's no filler on that record because I could listen to that thing top to bottom without skipping a track ever, and, it's actually become one of my favorite records.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Absolutely. So are we going to see more from RCMC?
I don't know. It hasn't been announced yet, so I guess I'm announcing it here. We are opening for the Alice Cooper Band. His band has a side thing they do on off nights called the Goon Squad.
Mhm.
We're going to play here in Nashville, and we're going to open. So that'll be on September 6th.
Wow, okay, so that's coming up pretty soon.
Maybe one show a year, when everybody's home and the record pops up, because, we're going to have to open for somebody because, we've got a 30-minute record.
Yeah. All right, fair. But again, killer record. And I just can't say enough to my listeners. And I've had Ryan on the show, so we've talked about it as well. But I will continue to push this record. It really is one of my favorites, hands down.
And we still have some vinyl left. So if you don't have it and you want it, hit me and Ryan up on social media messenger, and we'll make it happen.
Excellent. So this next part of the interview is a fun thing we do here, and it's just a lightning round, and it's just a series of this or that questions, and you just rattle off whatever comes to mind first. So first question: you're on the road. Do you prefer New York style or Chicago style pizza?
New York. Easy.
All right.
I have type 1 diabetes, so all that thick crust in Chicago, it's not even worth it to me.
Well, you have good reason to feel that way.
But even if I have diabetes, it would still be New York pizza. I like thin crust.
So with the diabetes in mind, maybe this next question isn't for you, but it's dinner or dessert?
Well, it's dinner, but I like some dessert.
How about
even without diabetes?
How about chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Are we going Poison or Motley Crue?
Motley Crue.
Dokken or Rat?
Rat.
Ozzy or Alice?
Ooh. Damn, dude. That's tough. That's real tough. Alice.
All right. How about, are you a horror movie fan?
No.
All right. All right. Here's a weird one that we ask everybody, and the answers to this are always fun. So let's just pretend you're superstitious and you're going through the Bermuda Triangle. Are you going to go on a boat or are you going to go on a plane? Why?
I guess I'm going to go on a plane because it's going to get through faster. If you don't, you're disappearing or drowning either way. So you might as well get it over with fast if you're lucky enough to get it over with.
All right, fair. How about favorite movie of all time?
Probably Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I just watched that last night.
I'm that annoying guy that knows every word, and I could talk you through the whole movie right now.
I think today's actually the anniversary of the release date of that movie. I'm not even kidding.
Maybe I'll watch it on my flight tomorrow.
Now, what about favorite TV show of all time?
Jesus. No any TV shows.
Are we leaving it at no TV show?
Yeah, if this is a lightning round, then I don't have anything fast.
All right. How about you have
ones? That's another one. Every word to every episode. So that's probably got to be my answer for that one.
I didn't catch it. What was it?
Young Ones.
Oh, okay. So here's the last lightning round question. Growing up, what was your favorite cartoon?
Probably the Warner Brothers cartoons, and I liked all of them. I loved Roadrunner and Coyote. Bugs Be Funny.
Perfect.
Horn, yeah. I liked those. Merry Melodies.
Now, are you sure you don't want to change favorite movie to Kiss Meets Phantom of the Park?
Yeah.
All right. So,
a better question for that one would be Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park or Kiss Attack of the Phantoms, because the Attack of the Phantoms is what they put out on Kissology, but it was a totally different edit with different music, and it didn't have like the Scooby-Doo Hanna-Barbera music. So out of those, I would choose Phantom of the Park.
Well, all right, let's talk about that really quick, just since we're on the topic anyways. Growing up, when you first see Kiss Meets Phantom of the Park, were you as obsessed with it as I was when I was a kid?
Oh, absolutely.
All
And
right.
then by the time they finally put it out on VHS, they had it at my store, and I'd rent it like every other week.
That's awesome. So, to bring everything back around to you and your career, um, can you just plug whatever shows you have coming up right now, just for everybody to know where you're going to be for the next however many weeks?
So on September 6th, I mentioned that Rock City Machine Company are opening for the Alice Cooper Band
Mhm.
at a venue called the 50 East Side Bowl in Nashville. At that same venue, I am doing a Jellyfish show on October 29th, which is pretty far away, and just Ace shows here and there. I'm sure Ryan and Phil and I will put together some more shows while we're all in town. You
Mhm.
know, we did a Van Halen tribute show back in January where Niels Lozauer came out and did a Q&A with us and sold Van Halen prints and Van Halen books and stuff. And I don't know, we managed to learn all that stuff and perform it pretty well. So it'd be a waste to only do that one time. So we're going to look at doing another show this fall or winter and just Ace shows. Take a look at Ace's calendar to find out if we're coming near you. I can't think of everything off the top of my head. I know we have Durant, Oklahoma this weekend. We have Allentown, Pennsylvania next weekend, and then yeah, beyond that, I'd have to look.
Okay. Now, again, we're kind of jumping all over the place, and that's on me. But I wanted to know just a couple more questions before you got into the band with Ryan to do the Kiss cruises. Who were you performing with before that? Before this whole journey started to get into Gene's band?
So I played with a band called the Shazam for over a decade. Pretty much occupied most of my 20s and early 30s. We did a lot of cool stuff. We that wound up going to England 5 times in
Mm.
2000, and I mean we started at this small, dinky little pub, and it just snowballed into doing a TV radio broadcast at Abbey Road, and then
Oh,
for it by the end of the year. Then next record came out. Little Steven started playing the band on his show, and then opened up, the band in America, and we just kind of started touring here and doing the van club thing.
wow.
Uh, we did a record with a producer called Mac, and Mac did all of Queen's records from the Game. But he died. He engineered and mixed all that great ELO stuff. Sweet, T Rex, Billy Squire. He produced those two big Billy Squire records. So like,
Wow.
his catalog is like the shit that made us want to make music. So we got to do a record with him. But like when that came out, I was like right in between MySpace and Facebook, and the music business was falling apart. And then I don't know, the band just kind of fell apart too.
Wow. Well, I got to ask because obviously playing with Gene and Ace has been, such a huge thing for you. Is there anything that you still have like on a bucket list of like a dream gig or something like that? Or are you just like, you know, I got the Ace thing, I did the Gene thing, and I'm good?
I'd like one of those comfy gigs. We're comfortable with Ace, but
Mhm.
you know, there's more comfy gigs out there. I don't know, arena stuff. You know,
Mm. Mhm.
we play some big places, and I've played lots of arenas, but like being in a touring arena band.
No, that makes sense. And do you think, for you personally, is there like a lineup, like a dream tour that you're like, it could be you guys with Ace or whoever, and then two or three other bands? Is there a few bands that come to mind like that would be like the top?
Hmm. I'd have to think about that. I don't know who's left out there in classic rock.
Yeah, no, that's true because everybody keeps announcing that they're finished. Maybe Aerosmith, they're saying they're going to do another run. I don't know if that's true or not.
No, it's within reason that Aerosmith might do a show here and there,
Mhm.
but I don't think Steven could do a tour. Like
Mhm.
touring's hard. It's tiring, and I can't imagine like 77.
Yeah, yeah, true. So before we wrap this up and get you out of here completely, I want you to plug your social media. Let all my listeners who don't already follow you know where they could follow you and keep up with what you're doing musically all over the board.
Okay. Everything is just my name. I don't have any fancy or clever things. Jeremy Asbrock, Asbrock. Uh, I'm maxed out on friends on my Facebook page, but you can still follow me. And I've got a fan page also that puts out the same information, and you can follow that. Instagram, Jeremy Asbrock. Those are the only two I'm really kind of active on. And honestly, it's more Instagram because Facebook shares my Instagram posts.
Mm.
And I don't do X. I have a TikTok page, but I don't really TikTok. So, you know, keep it down to two. It's easier that way.
All right, very cool. Dude, thanks so much again for being here. This is so
Oh,
cool to talk to you again.
yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for asking me. And sorry about that mix up last time.
That's okay. We got it done, and I'm sure I'll see you out on the road sometime soon because I seem to run into you guys a bit.
Cool. Sounds good, man.
All right, thanks again.
All right, bud.